One of the things that you can do when you're practicing any kind of play along, like the 1,000 hours worth of content that's available for free on my website, playing so in time that it basically hides the thing that you're playing along to. So this is how you can actually practice listening in. So if you're on a drum line or you're just like playing drum kit or drum set and you really want to just be rhythmically precise, you want to line up perfectly with a metronome so that it kind of like hides it. You can't actually hear it, the initial attack of it. You might hear the overlaying tones that kind of like come after it, like the release, but you want to actually hear the actual fundamental initial attack. So it's the same thing with any of these play-alongs. My goal is to make it so that I can bury the notes and make it so that I can't hear them when I am practicing along to it. So that's the plan, at least. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Whenever you listen to a drum line and you hear them play like an accent tap pattern on the right hand, and then all of a sudden it switches to the left, and it sounds different. Well, the reason why is because they haven't sat there and worked on making it so that the hands balance each other out and get the same touch on the right hand as the same touch on the left hand. This is one way that you can work on that, is doing the double stops to specifically make sure that everything sounds consistent across one hand to the next. One way that you could also practice this is like do, and then both, and then just the left, and then both, etc. This is a really good way to hear whether or not your diddles sound consistent if you're doing a roll. So a lot of people, when they think of drumming, they think it's all about like training your hands to play faster. And yes, there is certainly a component involving like getting your hands to physically move quicker, but it's also all about your brain. So you really need to train your brain to be able to think faster in order for your hands to actually play rhythmically in time. So you got to fire those neurons in the correct rhythmic sequence in order to get that to happen. Not only is it good to practice things slow to make it so that you can improve the timing of those neural firings, but you also need to practice fast so you can get your brain to think quicker while you're doing it. My brain is just like not able to focus as much as I normally like it to, and so it's messing with my playing because I'm thinking ahead rather than focusing on what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I instead shift my brain to think about the rhythm, then the sticking just kind of flows naturally and I'm able to actually play the correct part. So it's really interesting, like having this kind of like meta awareness of what's going on while I'm doing this. And I hope that this reflection helps you to see that, hey, if this happens to you, it happens to somebody who's been playing for a very long time, again, over 20 years, and I still mess up all the time. I've been doing it a ton in this particular stream, and that's okay. Some days are just a little bit off. Thank you, Blue Devils 99 snare line, for writing a cool beat. What is going on in that advertisement? Is that coming out of him or going up? Maybe I don't want to know. Okay. This is a family-friendly stream. Thanks for that ad, Incognito. So other than dropping my sticks, the majority of my mistakes are mental today. And the reason why is because I'm tired. So it's causing my brain to not be able to focus as much as I normally would while practicing. And that is making it so that I'm like thinking of what I'm going to say next, what I'm going to do next, what I'm going to do later on tonight, etc. And so all of those little thoughts that are kind of invading my brain right now are impacting my playing and making it so that I'm just forgetting what's coming next because I'm not focusing specifically on the music or my technique or chops or whatever. So that's what's going on with my playing today. What it's telling me is, make sure I get to bed on time tonight. One of the things that you can do when you are doing a warm-up like this, where you're just like making up whatever you want, is pay attention to what is not sounding great, and that can give you some goals for some things to work on if you don't have a plan for that particular practice session that you're doing. The reason why this is called with filler is because if you take a look at the pattern, like let's say line 3, which is the 4 pattern. So you have 4 on the right, 4 on the left, and you repeat that. Okay, so what we're doing is we're filling it in so that we have the same pattern still, except now we have a rhythm that goes. So you're still going. Except we want it to sound nice and even, so we get. Instead of. Something like that. So that's what this whole filler thing is that you see on the screen right here. So we're gonna do this faster. And just kind of mentally playing along while reading through it. Trying to find patterns to understand it. Okay, so each line is moving the diddle over 1. Now it's diddle on 2. This is slurred out right here, this measure. This is normal interpretation. This is the rushed interpretation. Normal interpretation. So you're going back and forth to figure out how to control them. So now this is diddle on 3. So you'll be playing a paradiddle. Okay, and then the synthesis line at the very end just has diddle on 1, 2, and then 3. Now I know all this in advance because I wrote it out. But this is what I'd look for if I were practicing this. Okay, now second time through, instead of just kind of watching and figuring out the patterns, I'm gonna play it with my wrist. So you can play it on your chest, you can play it on your pad. You wanna make sure that you hear the perfect interpretation of the computer louder than your actual playing at this stage in it. Like there, I realized I was coming in early. Looks like I got a bug bite. Nice. Don't remember consenting to that bug. A lot of instructors, what they'll end up doing when working with like a drumline in particular is they'll spend like too little time on something. They'll like do a rep 2 or 3 times and go, cool, it sounds fine, let's move on. It's not enough time to actually like really work on stuff. So if you actually want to work on technique, slow it down and spend the bulk of your practice session just refining that thing. So about 80% of what I just worked on today was just the one exercise. And then I had another accent tap exercise that I did to kind of warm up. And then the last like 2 to 5% of my time was spent working on chops just because I want to have some fun when I'm doing this. But again, all of the exercises that you just heard and that I demonstrated can be found for free at jaredoleary.com/drum, and there are plenty to keep you busy. Marching on a bass line is a lot of fun. However, it can be difficult to practice when you don't hear what the other parts are playing. Yeah, it's great to practice marking time with a metronome, but fitting in with the rest of the ensemble is key to having a good bass line. At the link at the top of the screen, there's well over 100 marching bass play-alongs that you can use to practice. They go as slow as 20 beats a minute all the way up to 160 beats a minute, and they work on a variety of splits from 2 drums all the way to 6 drums. The 2 drum splits are actually pretty cool. If you click on the description, you can actually jump to any BPM you want on any one of these hundreds of play-alongs for the bass drum. And when you click on it, it will immediately start tapping off. Now, for the 2 drums, it'll play both parts for the very first 2 lines. The next line, it will mute the second part, and then the last 2 lines, it'll mute the first part. This allows you to hear what your part would sound like, as well as to practice fitting in when hearing other people or another person play. So check out the link at the top of the screen, or simply go to my YouTube page and go down to the drumming content where you can find all of the playlists neatly organized on the home tab.